All right, my dear brothers and sisters, we are about to crack open the pages of the book of Mark. And I got to tell you, this gospel account is incredible and it's unique in a lot of ways. So I think I need to start by just simply stating that the person we are talking about when we talk about Mark may have been an actual convert of Peter the Apostle. Now, this is a Mark who, at the time of all these things that was going on with Jesus, may have been as young as 12 years old, 13 years old. We really don't know. And yes, this is the same Mark that Paul and Barnabas fought over on one of Paul's missionary journeys. He is the one that Paul regarded as sort of a weaker one who sort of abandoned the mission field when it got too much for him. And of course, Paul basically said, proverbially, off with his head, off he goes. Not really off with his head, but you know what I mean. He's saying, yeah, I'm done with this guy. I'm not going to use him. And Barnabas, of course, said, no, he can still be used. Let's work with him. And there was a strong disagreement between the two. And it is very interesting to note the fact that later on in Paul's life, his heart had opened up and recognized the benefit of this brother, which was pretty incredible to see how God used that. Now, it is interesting because the aspect that Mark actually takes when he writes this gospel account is based on the idea that, number one, it's very likely based on what he's writing, that he's talking to Gentiles, which is why this is particularly important for you to read, because most of us that are reading this are Gentiles, right? That means we're not Jews, which means there's a flair to this that might not necessarily sort of relate to people that come from a Jewish background. And so it becomes very interesting for those of us that are not. The other thing that's really interesting here is Mark spends an overt amount of time sharing about the things that Jesus did as opposed to the things that Jesus said. So you're going to see a real emphasis on his power, the power of Christ. You're going to see a real emphasis on his miraculous works and many of those things. And of course, I always think it's amazing to be able to look at one gospel account and then go into what Mark says about that gospel account, right? So you'll read something that was in Matthew or Luke, and you can go and read what Mark says about it, and Mark will spend more time talking about what Jesus actually did as opposed to what he said. And when you put all of those accounts together, you can almost in a very literal and forensic way establish what happened exactly in that story. And instead of finding contradictions, as many people claim, what you're actually going to find is a powerful picture of what exactly happened in the gospel. And by the way, it is interesting because what I'm going to do before you finish through the book of Mark is I'm going to go through a video where I'm going to show you how that works. I will read an account from one gospel, and then I will show you how that account is accentuated by what Mark notes as it relates to what Jesus physically did as opposed to what he said. So when you put together what Jesus said and then you put together what Jesus did as it's noted here by Mark, your eyes will open up to a very powerful story, and it's good, solid biblical analysis. You're going to enjoy it. Enjoy your time studying this. Write down the accounts that you see of things that Jesus did. Go in the other synoptics and look at what they say. And we talked about the synoptics in my introduction to Matthew, and you'll be able to find some great depth and insight. And of course, as usual, if you're looking for more in-depth teaching for this, you can go to CalvaryChapelSignalHill.com or our Calvary Chapel Signal Hill app, and you can download it for free, no cost, no obligation, and just listen to the teaching through that. So with that, God bless you guys. Happy reading, and watch out because you're about to be blessed with this one.